Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of From Downtown. Today is July 1st, 2024, and we're here today to talk about our conference outlook. So, we wanted to start with a mid-major conference like the Conference USA, the MAC, something like that, but I didn't have the rest of my notes from my job, so we're going to start with the Big 12 today, and then tomorrow we'll keep it going, the way y'all wanted to go. We're gonna do this alphabetically, so I'm thinking about like all the teams in the Big 12 that just moved over. Big 12 has kind of been solidified since last year, kind of with Cincinnati already coming over, UCF, Houston came over last year as well. So a lot of the new teams are teams that's gonna be able to recruit. I feel like already Utah, Arizona. Arizona State might be on the back end, but we'll talk about that. So let's go ahead and hop straight into it. Like I said, this is going to be in alphabetical order, not necessarily who I think will be at the top or the bottom. I do think there will be at least like 4 or 5 teams that have a viable chance of winning the Big 12 championship, but we'll see when we get there. So, Arizona, we're starting it off there. A very promising team. Last year, they finished 9-3. Pac-12 was very tough. They lost to Mississippi State and Washington. Then they ended up losing to USC by 2. So I feel like those games there could have been a telltale difference for them to be able to be in like the top 5. Like if they beat Washington or they beat USC, I think they top 5 or at least top 10. So looking at it, I feel like their schedule. The schedule from last year was very good because they ended up beating Utah. They beat Oregon State team that was actually kind of sneakily good. They ended up beating Oklahoma in their bowl game. I don't know who Oklahoma put out there, but Arizona had a field day with them. So with the new Big 12 realigned, I can see them kind of finishing as conference winners. At least 9 wins in this season. I see it actually happening again. So if not more, they have a new coach coming in, Brent Brennan from San Jose State. San Jose State had like one of the best offenses, not one of the best, but like one of the best for mid-major teams last year. So I think that he brings over what's the word I'm looking for? He's going to bring over something that is needed for a new Arizona, offense like to succeed in a conference like the Big 12. Noah Fafita is their returning quarterback. He's just a redshirt sophomore. He threw for like 2,800 yards last year, 26 touchdowns. I think he didn't even have double-digit interceptions. So thinking about that, I'm like, okay, what can Arizona bring to the Big 12 that we probably, haven't seen or are going to be excited to watch to see if they can beat out, teams like Oklahoma State. But I think it's going to be that offense. And Brent Brennan is bringing over a running back as well to kind of solidify that running game. I don't remember Arizona's running game last year. Not really a fan of that rushing attack, but I knew they had McMillan on the outside, which is another freshman receiver. He went for like 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards with 10 touchdowns. That connection with him and Fafita should still be there and fucking working like a motherfucker. But I feel like the transfers that they had an all right season last year. So we got to just see if it can translate over to the Big 12. Defensively, they are stout to me. They only gave up like 21 points a game last year, so that's amazing. So it's a new coach, new conference, but can they keep it up defensively is like something that I'm looking forward to seeing. Dalton Johnson, who is a safety, is the leading tackler. He returning this year. I want to see what he can do, develop as a secondary safety. Like, are you going to be playing in a box, or can he like play that back end pretty well? And then I want to see the growth of 6'4" cornerback Takario Davis. He's in the Big 12 now. They're going to be throwing the ball heavily. I would like to see him kind of solidify his draft stock. I think he's a junior senior, so he's going to be moving forward, thinking about the NFL in the future. And I think he's a guy that can do it, especially at 6'4". If he's fluid enough to survive in the Big 12, I think he does it. But there's some games that I like to talk about on their schedule for this year. Tough games, weak game, and swing games. The tough games that I see this year for Arizona is like going to Kansas State and going to Utah. That's the only 2 tough games I see. Weak games, I see New Mexico, Northern Arizona, Houston, Arizona State. But the swing games, the games in which I think if you win, your season goes in the right direction. If you lose, it might be a bump in the road and it could skid your team down. I think the swing games would be at UCF, at TCU, in a home game against West Virginia. That sneaky good West Virginia team. We'll get into West Virginia last. Next team that we want to talk about is Arizona State. Arizona State last year was 3-9. Can they have another year like that again? I fucking hope not. But they have a very sporadic team. Last year I don't really know. I think it was just the fact it was the Pac-12, but it was hard for me to see them being a team that could just regroup this year and be like, yeah, we're gonna get 5-6 wins. But UCLA, Washington State, I mean, they got close to beating Cal, Fresno State. I mean, it is crazy. But non-conference wise, they play Mississippi State, Wyoming, Texas State, and I can only see them losing to like Mississippi State. But in conference, I think that's when it gets like into a gauntlet in which I feel like Arizona State can't compete. They're new to the Big 12 somewhat, so their record this year may be like I can feel like seeing like 4 or 5 games, but I don't see it touching that 6 range. But I still feel like teams such as BYU, Kansas, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF can beat their ass. But offensively they were somewhat good, but they offensively they were ass. Cause I think they only scored like 18. Yeah, this Arizona State squad last year only put up 18 points a game while giving up like 30 points a game on the back end on defense. So they lost Jaden Rashada, of course, to fucking Georgia, but Sam Levitt from Michigan State is going to be that new quarterback transfer. Looking at like when I started doing this outlook shit and I was looking at like the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, he was definitely at the bottom. So they have no hope. So I think that's the best thing to have, like when you have a team like this, no hope. So just go out there, play hard, and hopefully, that quarterback Levitt could show you something. Fuck. Defensively, like I said, they gave up 30 points a game, so it's not much there to really truly talk about. But they give up a lot of points. Their offense was very bad at turning the ball over, and defense was very bad at getting off the field on third downs and getting turnovers. So they gave up a lot of points to teams like Washington, of course. I think Washington had like 50 points on them. They kept somebody else had like USC had 30 or 40 points on them, but then they ended up keeping UCLA to like 15 points, and then they ended up keeping another good team to like 7. So I'm like, is it a sporadic defense, or is it just the fact that their offense put them in bad positions at all times? So on this defense, the only thing bright spots I see, transfers from Washington State, Javon Robinson, LaTerrence Welch from Louisiana, who left LSU. I think that he could make an impact going out there because there's really not much to to beat out there. So on the defensive line, they have a guy named CJ Fight, who can disrupt the offense. I feel like from up the middle by himself. We just got to see what those edge rushers look like. And tough game. I think it's every damn game for Arizona State. The only weak game that I see is a Texas State game. I think that they started off with. But swing games, I would like to say Wyoming at home is a swing game because Wyoming is not a fucking easy win. Going to Cincinnati is a swing game. UCF and BYU I put as swing games just because of what I see now from UCF and BYU is just I need to see more from, I guess, the offense for me to put up anybody beating them. They're in the same boat with Arizona State's offense to me. So next is the Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears were very, 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 very bad last year. They finished 3-9 as well. Another 3-9 team coming in the Big 12. Well, that's in the Big 12. But they started off rough. I think it was a loss to Texas State. Then they pick up a 42-point L. So it's like it started bad and it finished bad. And Dave Aranda is going to have to do a lot to turn his team around this year. I kind of feel like he's on one of those hot seats that we were talking about. So offensively, uh, they had some good things to look forward to. The O line was very weak. They ended up getting Toledo's quarterback. From last year that won the MAC Player of the Year, DeQuan Finn. Uh, he's very mobile. He can throw the ball with somewhat accurately. When I was watching Toledo last year, I feel like he was more of a dynamic quarterback. He made plays when plays needed to happen, and that's why he was the MAC Player of the Year. So I think Toledo ended up going damn near undefeated too last year. So that was some good shit. But I think he's going to make an impact. But in the Big 12, he's going to have to make a significant impact for them to win more than 3 games again this year. So I see they believe that DeQuan Finn is, like, he hasn't been named the true starter, so we're just all speculation anyway. But I don't think anybody in that quarterback room can beat out DeQuan Finn. So I think he needs to be there, especially with that O-line trying to get better. It would be costly not to have a good quarterback or a quarterback that's used to playing in big games. I know Garrett Green is gone anyway. Well, no, Garrett Green is with West Virginia. Who the fuck was their quarterback last year? Damn. But he transferred. But it's like, who cares? Defensively, Baylor has added a lot of transfers to bolster their defensive back room. So they were one of the worst secondaries last year, so that is going to be very easy to do to kind of bolster that room. So I feel like Kendrick Simpkins from Western Kentucky, Cameron Jenkins from UNLV, 2 transfers that they say are going to stand out for their defense. Honestly, it's looking like Baylor is going to be on the back end again of a 4-win season, 5-win season, something like that. But I think they need to find a way to get to the quarterback, because even though that their defensive backs was terrible, that was one of the main reasons, because their defensive line wasn't getting pressure and the fucking quarterback had years to throw the ball. So hopefully they find some pressure up front and those DBs can finally, make a way to making some good plays. They only had 8 quarterback hurries last year. That is a crazy stat. Only 8 quarterback hurries throughout the whole year. That's fucking crazy. Cameron Jenkins is the brother of one of the younger DBs that they have as well, Caden Jenkins. Caden made second team All-American last year, so he was a bright spot on that fucking abysmal defense, but let's just hope his brother can come over and help him out a little bit. Tough, easy swing games I have for Baylor. Tough games I have at Utah, at Texas Tech, at Iowa State, Oklahoma State at home, Kansas at home, TCU at home. I think that a lot of these games that they're going to play in Big 12 play is going to be very tough. Only easy games I see for them will be Tarleton State and Air Force, and if Air Force comes out and start running the ball and they can't get pressure up the middle, they'll lose that game as well. Swing games that I have are BYU, at Houston, at Colorado, and then another tough game I didn't realize was at West Virginia. I didn't realize they were playing West Virginia at the end of the season. So West Virginia is a stout team. Neil Brown is not on the fucking what it is, the damn hot seat anymore. So yeah, I'm not really worried about anything there. BYU, the Mormon country, 5-7 last year. Honestly, they had a very rough schedule last year, having to play like TCU, Kansas, Texas, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, all on the road. I think it's just the realization of getting welcome to the Big 12. So only 2 teams that they beat from the respective Big 12 right now are Cincinnati and Texas Tech. But we did see a flash of like early in the season with them going like 3-0. I remember that shit happening. And then I think they had like a huge win on the road against Arkansas. So they beat an SEC team, but after that, they just started to fall off, and the offense lost all its momentum, like only scoring 20 points 4 times out of the last 9 games. So they were a machine that kind of broke. it cost them from getting in I guess better territory to compete in that Big 12 because I feel like they had a chance, especially with the team that they had last year. But they're going to recoup with more. So this year the offense has come set out to do what it wanted to do last year, but with a somewhat easier schedule than last year. Quarterback Jerry Bohannon, wide receiver Darius Lassiter will be big pieces for the offense. That was kind of like fell off last year. So hopefully Jerry Bohannon can come in and have a good year. Yeah, he was the one at Baylor. He was at USF and then Baylor and then USF, something like that. I just remember that name being at Baylor, and I was like, damn, we're going to talk about the quarterback that left Baylor because he's still in the Big 12. Lassiter is a good receiver. I think he's from a military school, but, I mean, that's going to be their bright spot on offense. Defensively, I feel that BYU is going to start and stack up against some of the best offenses in the Big 12. They played a lot of teams down to like 14 and 21 points. So I mean, they have some of the best linebackers in the Big 12, some of the best defense. So I don't feel like the things that they would do on this year would be any worse than last year. So I feel like they're going to have a big year this year defensively. They're getting back one of their like best, I guess, linebackers or best defensive players in the season. It's a hybrid guy. He's Ben Bywater. And they probably got Jack Kelly, a transfer coming in. He's a sack machine. He had 10 sacks last year from Weber State. I never heard of him, but I went to look at some of his clips. It was all right. On the back end, they got Micah Harper, who's a safety. He's just out there trying to find his way to to get things done. Carter, chill out. So I feel like they have a big year on the back end on defense. So I feel like they have a better year this year than what they had last, and hopefully it doesn't fall off as dramatically as it did last year. So tough games, weak games, swing games. I got tough games being Kansas State at home, at Utah, Kansas at home, Oklahoma State at home, and Arizona at home. So those tough games are all damn near home games, and I feel like if you can stretch them bitches out and win one of those, your season is going on the up and up. So week games, we have Southern Illinois, Houston at Arizona State, and Baylor. Swing games, I think that Wyoming is going to be a swing game. They got to go to Wyoming and play them early in the season. SMU could be a swing game just because we don't know what SMU can bring to the table right now. And the other swing game was at UCF, but I just feel like because of what UCF did them, or what UCF went through last year, it wouldn't allow BYU to get out to such a great start, a great start. So I can see a 6-7 win, 8-win season out of the BYU Cougars next year. But yeah, next up is the Cincinnati Bearcats, one of the new additions to the Big 12. Not new additions, but they're here now. So Cincinnati went 3-9 last year. Very abysmal, even though I feel like it should have been so one-sided. I feel like they won on the road against Pitt. They beat Houston, and they beat Eastern Kentucky. So it looks like their jump to the Big 12 was really just beating up on teams that were already, kind of bad. So it doesn't really matter. Since he played a close game against Oklahoma, which was kind of something you could look forward to, they played them like 20-6. But they turned the ball over so much that it didn't really matter. So Miami of Ohio, BYU, Baylor, UCF, I mean, they only were close to those guys by like 2-3 points. So it really seems that the Big 12 schedule is too much for them. Well, it looked like it was too much for them last year, but let's just see how it goes moving forward. They plucked Brendan Sorsby, the transfer quarterback from Indiana. Indiana ended up getting Curtis Rourke from Ohio. That's my dog there. But he did crazy last year. I think he was a freshman, so he was able to go out there and just have a big year. Indiana didn't expect much out of him anyway. They didn't expect much out of the team. So I think he has huge upside and could be one of the sleeper QBs in the Big 12. But they were 0-6 when turning the ball over more than like 3 times. So if they can keep that down, I feel like they'll have a chance to kind of be in more games. Not necessarily win them, but just be in them. So defensively, they were downright terrible. They gave up 30 points a game, 400 yards a game. Honestly, they went transfer portal heavy, going grab Darian Varner from Wisconsin and Mike Coleman from Eastern Michigan. Probably should just help them get to the quarterback. Varner is a senior who left somewhere else and then he was at Temple and had like a 10-sack season. Then he went to Wisconsin, didn't get to play that much, and then he's back at Cincy, but back on the East Coast. So I think that people like Dante Carleone is a big lineman. He can eat up the middle paws, but it's like it's going to take a lot. We're going to have to see what that secondary can do again. I don't really see that record jumping up too far. If they won 3 games last year, I think they can win 4 or 5 or 6 this year. Their tough games to me would be Texas Tech, UCF, West Virginia, Kansas State, and TCU. All of those games are at home, so anything can happen. Weak games I would like to say is Towson and Miami, Ohio, which is like a rivalry game for them, so Miami, Ohio might actually wake up. And swing games is at Pittsburgh. Oh, Pittsburgh is home this year. Sorry. Houston, Arizona State, and Colorado all at home. So I feel like if they are able to beat teams like, Houston, Colorado, there'd be a 5 to 6 win team. But other than that, no. And speaking of Colorado, we have Colorado coming up next. Probably one of the most exciting teams you can watch from last year. Not necessarily on the field, but just the theatrics of the field. So Colorado is led by their all-conference quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. So looking at their schedule, I feel like it's going to be very easy compared to what the fuck they went through last year. I feel like they got thrown in the fire last year, having to play some of the best teams week in and week out in the Pac-12. So I think that beating teams like TCU early, Nebraska, even Arizona State, even that Colorado State game, I think they did enough to just kind of have a inkling of hope for this year. So they ended up getting a new OC, and they got Travis Hunter back, Shedeur Sanders. The run game was terrible, so they kind of let Dylan Edwards walk. Dylan Edwards is still in the Big 12 somewhere as well. I remember talking about him. But I just want to see how Pat Shermer, which is the new offensive coordinator, utilizes Shedeur and Travis, just to see like how effective can Shedeur be in a pro-style offense, even though he was playing in one last year. Defensively, they were bad. They gave up a lot of. What's the word I'm looking for? They gave up a lot of shit last year. A lot of bullshit. They gave up 450 yards. Travis Hunter was hurt for a while. They were a bottom 10, 20 defense. So I want to see what can this defense actually do with a year with like people like Warren Sapp. Got a bigger few guys up at the front. So it's just going to be tough to see how, I guess, they make an impact. So we'll have to wait to see. They ended up getting a few transfers. What, man? Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, just having people like Warren Sapp come in and help. We'll see how that helps up front, because that's where they were weak at last year. Offensively and defensively, they were just getting beat up front week in and week out, and this shit just kept. It was a battle of attrition with the line after a while. So hopefully they have some depth and they can compete. So I think that they go 6-6, 7-5, maybe 5-7 or 8-4. So those two extremes are very, very close to hit. So tough games I have: Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, and Kansas, all at home. Easy games I have: North Dakota State, at Nebraska, Baylor, and Cincinnati. So I think that they win 4 right there once again off the rip. But then again, I have swing games, which is at Colorado State, Utah, UCF, and Texas Tech. So I feel like if they win 2 of those swing games, they're at 6-16. They're in the bowl game, and it's definitely an easier time than what it was last year. Just trying to get wins and trying to, be better. So 4-8, we got Houston. Houston is probably the swaggiest team in the conference. They don't really do shit. Non-conference wise, they beat UTSA and Sam Houston and lost to Rice. So Big 12 wise, they have to kind of get it back together. I don't think they really beat anybody that was worth it. They did play some of the best teams in the Big 12 last year, having to play Texas and Oklahoma. So they won't. Oh, no, they will have to play Oklahoma out of conference, but only UNLV and Rice would be the only other out of conference teams that they're playing against. So, with new head coach Willie Fritz, leaving from Tulane and coming over to Houston, I kind of feel like they will have some hope in close games. Donovan Smith, which is their quarterback, 6'5", 235. He transferred from Texas Tech. He had a kind of a good season last year. Houston needs somebody that can throw the ball. I feel like they have talented guys on the outside, but they just need somebody to kind of give them the ball. So they need a line to protect Donovan Smith, and then they need some people just out there just to, I guess, take some of the brunt of force off of some of the guys on that outside. So we need a running game. You need a running attack. You need to make sure that Donovan Smith is protected. Out of everybody in the Big 12, I think they can have a sneaky good chance just because of that quarterback. Like 6'5", 235. Like, goddamn, you can change the game. But hopefully the arm is there because he threw for like 20 interceptions. 20 touchdowns. It was like 10 interceptions. So we'll see. Defensively, they were bad all around. Terrible run game, terrible pass game, even in special teams. So they ended up giving like 30 points a game, damn near 400 yards a game. So yeah, a lot of transfers coming in. Look like they all from Louisiana. Michael Batten, ULM, Corey Platt, Tulane, Kendrick Grant from UL, and secondary transfer Byron Morey from SMU. So that was another guy that's not from Louisiana, but Willie Fritz went Louisiana heavy here. Hopefully it can help that defense that probably didn't have pride. So Willie has to get those guys to kind of be better off the ball on third down and get off the field and shit like that. So the success with Houston is going to fall solely on that, like, what he did with Tulane type shit. Like, can he develop another quarterback? Can he develop an offense and have a great defense? Like, just have a defense that can hold you down long enough for my offense to do what I need them to do. Tough games that I have this year are at Oklahoma, at TCU, at Kansas, Utah at home, and at Arizona. Weak games are the rest of the games for me on that schedule. So I have Rice, Baylor, UNLV, Cincinnati, Iowa State, and BYU. So I think that I don't see a swing game here for Houston. I see you either win or you lose. Your schedule or swing game win really won't make an impact on their overall record. So I think that UNLV, Cincy, Iowa State, BYU, those teams, they should definitely be on a lookout for Houston. I don't even know why I have Iowa State there, but hey, fuck it, because the next team that we're going to talk about is Iowa State. Iowa State finished last year 7-6, a great team that probably could have finished 9-10 win season, but they started off with fucking fluke losses. I think last year they started off with a loss to Iowa. They lost at Ohio University, and Ohio State. A lot of the things that I saw in the Big 12 were good. I mean, if it wasn't for Oklahoma and Texas, they beat damn near everybody in the Big 12. I can see them as an 8, 9, 10 win school. Like I said, they underachieved like a motherfucker last year. Offensively, they were at a loss, losing their quarterback Hunter Deckers to like a gambling scandal or some shit like that. But the freshman Rocco Beck, like, he came in and did some shit. That boy won like Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year last year. So, he threw for 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. To to expect a drop off from a freshman like that would be fucking crazy. So he still has his dog in the backfield, Abu Sama, who had a decent year last year, damn near getting 1,000 yards. So they got a 6'4" receiver, Isaiah Austin from Army. So I mean, the offense is looking explosive. I don't really know what happened last year to make them fall as much as they did. It just was very inconsistent. Defensively, they lost T.J. Tampa, of course, one of the best DBs from last year. But Jeremiah Cooper is somebody that they think could make one of those impacts like T.J. Tampa last year. Long arms, can definitely play on either side of the ball. Can follow your best guy or just be in the slot anywhere. So I think defensively they need to find a way to get a little bit more momentum, a little bit more turnovers, get some INTs. Just make them turn the ball over. They have linebackers that are versatile in Will McCaughlin and Jack Sadowinski, but the question is, will the D-line do anything to put pressure on the quarterback? I think they can go 8-4, 9-3, 10-2. The only tough games I see are at Kansas and at Utah. Weak games I have North Dakota, Arkansas State, Houston, UCF, Cincy, Baylor, Texas Tech as being weak games. Swing games would be at West Virginia, Kansas State, and at Iowa. Iowa State could definitely be a team to actually win this goddamn conference. Next is Kansas, the Cinderella team of the Big 12, who fucking keeps recruiting better and better. Last year they went 9-4. Could have been a 10-win team again, but no, they went 9-3. I'm sorry, they lost. Did they lose their bowl game? No, they went 8-4 and lost their bowl game. They could have been a 9 or 10-win team, but for anything to go right, I feel like Jalen Daniels has to be healthy and out there. Of course, they had one of the best running attacks with Devin Neal last year. I remember that shit too. Like those two, Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal, is probably one of the best, backfield duos. Not backfield duos, but quarterback running back duos that they have in the Big 12. The team got 32 seniors on the roster right now, and some of those have played meaningful snaps, and some of them haven't. So I think that this is going to be their best chance to win the Big 12, especially with Texas and Oklahoma leaving and going to the SEC. So I feel like consecutively, like if they can have another good year, it could be one of the ones that could top the Big 12. It held their own offensively throughout the whole year last year. I think defensively is where it kind of I ain't gonna say you had a fall off. Their defense was good too. I just think that some games they just put themselves in bad positions defensively and kind of gave up 3-point losses here, 4-point losses here, like those type of games that I think that if happen again this year they should win. So tough games that I have is Kansas State, West Virginia. There's 2 away games. But the week games are damn near the rest of the schedule. It's Lindenwood, at Illinois, UNLV, TCU, Arizona State, Houston, BYU, Baylor, Colorado. And then the only swing game that I have is Iowa State and that's a game at home. So this team could definitely go 9-3, 10-2, 11-1. It's just going to take a true healthy season from their stars like Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal. Like that's the only way I could see that to consistently happen. The next Kansas team, Kansas State, went 9-4 last year. They could be a new star of the Big 12, but I need to see what Avery Johnson can do. Their new quarterback. He went out there in that bowl game and he won the MVP of that bowl game. Don't remember what bowl game it was, but he had a good game. Necessarily, I want to see him throw the ball better. He can fucking run like a crackhead, but I mean, I want to see him be in the pocket and throw the ball. I think he ended up with like 200 yards and 100 yards on the ground. So if you're going to be that dual threat quarterback, then do that and have fun. But I would like to see him throw the fucking ball. They lost some great offensive linemen to the draft, but they recruit through the portal. They got North Dakota's Easton Kilty, and they're getting back another guy on the front line as well to both of their wide receiver room. Dante Cephas from Penn State. Avery is the new quarterback, so he's going to just have to find a way to get this team to go with him. He got a new running back, Dylan Edwards. Yep, I knew Dylan Edwards had left and went to the Big 12. So Dylan Edwards left Colorado and went to TCU. And they got DJ Giddens as well. So they can have like a two-headed monster at running back. So to say that they win 8 games. I feel like it's going to be something that I could easily kind of put out there. Defensively, K State was great. So, I mean, they need to make sure it's like the sack production is there. Of course, it's the Big 12. They fucking air the ball out, but they lost their best pass rusher, but they had people behind them like Brendan Mott, Austin Moore, um, linebackers that can come down and make plays as well. So hopefully we get to see people like on the back end defensively with the secondary make plays. Don't really know any of their cornerbacks other than like VJ Payne. I remember that name like a motherfucker, damn Marquise Single or something like that. Yeah. I think K State has a good year. So tough game that I see is being Arizona at home, Oklahoma State at home, Kansas at home. And then the rest of the games I see being weak are UT Martin at Tulane, at Colorado, at Houston, Arizona State, Cincy, at BYU. And then I have swing games being at West Virginia and Iowa State. A lot of the games are going to be played on the road. So if they aren't prepared mentally and physically, they could definitely lose or fall in a couple of these games. But, hey, it is what it is. And I feel like K-State is going to be at the top as well. I feel like they're going to be an 8, 9, 10 win team as well. So Oklahoma State is next up. The true Big 12 powerhouse who we think should win that motherfucker every year anyway. I think this year is going to be can they keep up with the Big 12? Like, can they make it to the championship game? I don't know what happened last year. But this team has the most upside, I feel like, to win the Big 12, especially with nobody I feel in America that can stop Ollie Gordon, probably one of the best running backs from last year, and then they bring back like one of the best offensive lines that they had like with last year. So Ollie ran for 1,700 yards last year with 20 touchdowns. I can see him doing like 2,000 this year. They have a great line, like I said. Alan Bowman is back at quarterback for him, so hopefully that kind of keeps some continuity with how they attack the passing game. You know, the continuity with Ollie Gordon and the offensive line is going to be there regardless. So, receivers like Brendan Presley, Rashard Downs, and Deshaun, I'm going to say, are going to have success. I feel like Alan Bowman can definitely throw the ball. Basically, if they can find a way to get the ball in Presley's hand. I think last year he almost had 1,000 yards. Like he was like 8 yards short from being 1,000-yard receiver. So if Alan Bowman can keep the interceptions down and y'all can keep the turnovers away by kind of running the ball and holding on to the ball, Oklahoma State is great. Oklahoma State puts up a lot of points. If you ever watched last year, even being a run-heavy offense, they put up a lot of damn points. So this defense is kind of where it fell off. That defense gave up like 29 points a game, 400 yards as well throughout that, through like running and passing. So I think that it was kind of a back and forth thing. I think they gave up a lot of points to teams that they shouldn't have. They gave up 34 points to Iowa State in the L, 32 points to Kansas in a fucking dub, 34 to BYU in a dub, 30 to Houston in a dub. You're letting these trash schools score like 30 points on you, even though your offense is very high powered. It can keep you in games. You, as a defense, you kind of have to do better. So this year I see tough games being Utah and K-State, both at home. Weak games I see South Dakota State, at Tulsa, at BYU, at Baylor, Arizona State, Texas Tech, Colorado, and all. In this Arkansas game, I don't think Arkansas is a swing game, even though they're an SEC school. I just think that this Oklahoma State team is just built better than this SEC school right now. Swing games I do see is West Virginia at home and at TCU. Just because I know TCU will wake up for this game, and we're moving straight into TCU now. TCU finished their season last year 5-7. Just 2 years ago, TCU was in the fucking college football playoff. Like, that was crazy. After that opening week loss to Colorado last year, I feel like TCU have went on a fucking spiral. They only beat SMU. They lost to Texas by 3, which is surprising. Yeah, it was just an up and down year. I think to look forward for a winning future for Sonny Dykes, he's going to be relying on quarterbacks. So Josh Hoover will be back to starting after, taking over the job last year, late into the season. So it could be a good offense, especially with pieces like Savion Williams. They got a Boise State transfer, Eric McAllister, who should catch a bulk of the passes with a guy like Trey Sanders returning to play running back. I feel like Trey Sanders had a fucking big game against Colorado, but he ended up getting hurt. And then from there, it was like downhill because it was hard to find constant run production for that team. And if he's healthy, I think he can be great. Defensively, TCU was just ass. The only thing that stuck out to me was Bud Clark, safety, one of the best I feel like in the Big 12 right now. Bud has been probably the only contribution on defense since that season when they went to like Michigan. Went to the college football playoffs and played against Michigan. He had like a pick six. I remember that shit. And yeah. But up the middle, they got Damone Williams. That's probably a big man up the middle that they can kind of rely on. They got a Tulane transfer, Nnamdi Abiazer, to play linebacker. I just need to see more out of TCU. I think they can be a 6-win team, or all the way up to a 7-win team, or they can be back at 4 and 5 wins. So tough games I see at Kansas, at Utah. Oklahoma State is a tough game. Arizona is definitely a tough game. Weak games I have LIU and Texas Tech. And the rest of their games are swing games. Cincinnati at home, Stanford, UCF at SMU, Houston at Baylor. I'm giving those games as swing games because I just need to see TCU actually wake the fuck up and do something productive. Damn it, just do something. I didn't see anything along the lines of them getting better. So, next up we have Texas Tech. Texas Tech last year was 7-6. Very exciting team to watch because of how they like that offense. But I think we watched them against TCU last year, and it was damn near a shit show when you watch them. We all know how high powered this Texas Tech offense is. Everybody who's waiting on college football, the video game to come out, knows how high powered Texas Tech offense is. But it's the defense that always brings them down. I believe other than that Texas game, their defense was somewhat good, but it just the offense didn't follow. And you have to open up losing to Wyoming last year. I know that probably hit them in the heart. Then you go to Oregon and you lose by 8. So it's like if you kind of think about winning that Wyoming game and you go to Oregon and lose by 8, like you have a good squad. You have a squad that's there to just not putting it together. I guess at the right times. They got a new quarterback, Baron Morton. Tyler Shaw, the QB from last year, is transferring to Louisville. Got to see what Baron is good at. He's a replacement for Shaw, a good one I would like to say. But with the talent that they have on the outside and the talent that they're able to pull in on the outside, he's going to be all right, especially with a great running back like Taj Brooks. He ran for 1,500 yards last year, and honestly was probably the focal point of that offense. So the defense just needed to be a little better. 7-6, like I said, I feel like a lot of those games were close. It could have been games they won, like 8 to 9 wins. Win season could have been something they had last year. On defense, Braylon Lux is going to be a game changer, especially with them playing that 4-2-5 defense. It will rely heavily on secondary positions, putting 5 guys out there that play DB. So will they be at mercy of the quarterback? We won't know because they got to get pressure up front, and hopefully that's where he steps in and helps them out. So I got high hopes for Texas Tech. I think that they will do better than what they did last year. They won't give up many easy dubs in the beginning of the season. I think it's going to be a good season. I think they can get 8 wins, 9 wins to 10 wins. Strong games I see are Arizona, at Iowa State, at Oklahoma State. Weak games I see are Abilene Christian, North Texas, Arizona State, Cincy, Baylor, and Colorado. Swing games that could change their season, I would like to say, is at Washington State, at TCU, and West Virginia. Yeah. we're now moving on to the back half of the Big 12. We only got 3 schools to go. Ain't that crazy? Last year, UCF was 6-6. I feel as if UCF will be a true front runner in this conference, just not now or next year. They have already had their first year in the Big 12. They're a great recruiting school. They know how to get those kids out in Florida. I don't know how they do it. They just got to get somewhat accustomed to the speed, power, and consistency of playing in Power 4 conferences now. So it's going to be hard to win consistently, of course. That's in any conference that's Power 4. So there will be a lot of games up front easily in the beginning of the season. I feel like where they would get beat up. But offensively, I feel like everything that they were doing last year could transfer over to now, because I feel like they were clicking like a motherfucker. The rushing attack was 4th in the nation, and I think they were like 10th in total offense. So things that they were doing last year could definitely transfer over to this year and continue for them to like grow and win. Shout out to the guys over there at College Football News. They were 0-5 last year when not rushing for 200 yards. So that lets you know how dependent on that rushing game there is, especially with a new transfer, KJ Jefferson from Arkansas, coming over to be their quarterback. KJ is definitely a dual threat type of quarterback, more on the running side in my mind, having to go against him while he was playing against Arkansas. So their leading rusher, R.J. Harvey, is back. 1,500 yards of offense last year from him. So their rushing game is going to be there, and I feel like defensively is where they're going to have to step up. Honestly, they have a wide receiver named Kobe Hudson that I feel like is going to make an impact. I think that KJ is on the side of being better than John Reese Plumlee. So I think that KJ is going to like show more of what that offense could do with a true dual threat quarterback, and I think they don't lose. I don't think they go 0-5 when they don't rush for 200 yards this year, or they won't have a game where they're not rushing for 200 yards, if we put it that way. Defensively, they were in the same, I feel like, boat as Colorado. They just didn't have like stout defenders up front that could consistently go in and day out and go up against fucking true Big 12 line. But they did make some transfers. They got somebody to transfer portal. Najee Kelly from Miami. They got a bunch of linebacker transfers. Texas Tech guy named Johan Pierre and Ethan Barr from Vandy, 2 linebackers look like, is led by Cincy transfer Deshaun Pace, who can also as well be a versatile safety and linebacker combo. Yeah, I think Deshaun Pace actually had a good year last year for Cincy. I don't know why he left, but I don't know why he left and went to UCF. I can see them going for a 6-win season, 7-win season, 5-win season. I don't see them pushing at 8, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did push to 8. At TCU is a strong game. At Florida is a strong game. At Iowa State is a strong game. At Arizona is a strong game. And Utah is at home, so that is still a strong game to me. Week games that I see on their schedule is New Hampshire, Sam Houston State, Cincy, and at Arizona State, with the swing games being Colorado, BYU, and at West Virginia. UCF is going to rely solely on their running game. So if you're relying on their running game and with a new quarterback with KJ Jefferson, I feel like you have to find a way to stop somebody defensively. And I don't think they did that much in the transfer portal to stop that. But hey, like I said, they're going to be a front runner at some point in the Big 12, just not this year or next year. Next up is the Utah Utes. Probably the new perennial powerhouse of the Big 12. Am I foolish for thinking that Utah is going to just fucking run around and run over people? Probably so. But honestly, I don't care. On paper, they look like the best team in the Big 12. Last year, they finished 8-4. But when I look at that schedule, they could have easily been a 10-win team. They lost to Arizona. They lost to Washington. They lost to Oregon. I feel like those 3 games were the swing games for them, and if they win any one of those, their season goes to 9-10 win season. Utah has their fucking quarterback back, Cam Rising. They've been waiting for him for a year now. He got hurt last year, so his full season back this year is going to be something special. I feel like he led Utah to Pac-12 conference titles 21 and 22. 21 and 22 because 23 he was hurt. He coming back with some of his guys too. I think they had a tight end that actually was hurt last year as well, who's going to be out there with him. Then they have USC transfer Dorian Singer coming to Utah, and most of the guys that they were leaning on from last year are returning. So defensively, I think it's going to take a lot for Utah to just let this shit slip away in this sad Big 12. I'm optimistic about the defense, I would like to say, but I just need to see them get back to like being that storied defense. They gave up 42 points to Arizona last year, 35 to Washington, 35 to Oregon, and these were the big games that they lost. So if you can find a way to kind of like stop those big offenses, or just put them in, like, get them into a game to where it's a rough game and not a fucking high powered game. Like, just make them run the ball more, make them settle for three. Like, come on, we got to find a way to do it. But I sound like fucking Doc Rivers. But they only ranked number 13 in total yards last year, and they was missing a lot on the offensive side when you think about Cam Rising not being there. So the D-line is returning Logan Fano, who was good last year. Jonah Ellis went to the NFL, so Logan's going to have to take a bulk of the upfront heat. He's going to have to get to the quarterback. He's going to have to stop the run. He's going to have to be one of those guys that is there, like, to bolster that front line. So Utah should have a linebacker that makes, great plays and going out there and just being fucking 3-level with the shit. Like, he's going sideline to sideline just to make impact. I feel like they have 3 linebackers there, but there's only one that can make a true impact, and that's going to be based really on the returning cornerback room and DB room to, help the secondary kind of keep wide receivers in front of them and stop big plays from happening. I think Utah gave up a lot of big plays last year. The only tough games I see is Arizona and Iowa State. Weak games on their schedule is Southern Utah, Baylor, at Utah State, at Arizona State, at Houston, BYU at home, at Colorado. Swing games being at Oklahoma State. I don't think that's a tough game. I would like to see Utah and Oklahoma State, but Utah is definitely going to have a tough game. Now that I think about it, going to Oklahoma State, so I'm definitely bumping that one up to the tough side. And then TCU and at UCF, 2 teams in which I feel like shouldn't beat Utah, but this is Utah's first year in the Big 12 or the new Big 12, and probably not used to the type of offenses that those guys run. And I'm just having a lot of hope with TCU. Last team in the Big 12 that we have to talk about is the West Virginia Mountaineers. One of the teams that I like solely from reminiscing. Like, I just remember Pat White, Tavon Austin, just going out that motherfucker and killing it when I was a kid. So I like the colors. I like the mascot. I like everything about him. I think on NCAA I might make a fucking dynasty for him. But last year was definitely a good year for Neil Brown. He was on the hot seat. I think they were trying to figure out ways to get rid of his ass, and then he comes out and wins 8 games. He comes out and shows you that he could be one of those coaches or make West Virginia back into the powerhouse that it was. They finished off hot, which allows me to think that they will start this season off hot. Offensively, the O-line is amazing. Their running back CJ Donaldson and Jaheim White, who's a freshman who started playing late in the season last year. The opportunities they had for explosive plays were fucking crazy. The person that we should really look out for is their quarterback, Garrett Green. Green is definitely one of the best 4 quarterbacks in the Big 12, and I feel like last year, in many ways, he kind of pushed this team to greatness. I feel like, and the offense not necessarily being a run-heavy offense. You need a quarterback that can be mobile a little bit and do enough to put the ball on the money. I think that this West Virginia offense was electric. Not Pat White, Tavon Austin type of electric, but it was electric last year. They lost one of their best receivers, Devin Carter, to the NFL. So losing that there is big. But they went out to the portal and grabbed Jaden Bray from Oklahoma State, a fucking Big 12 rival. So I think it was defensively that they made the best strides last year, becoming one of the best defenses in the Big 12, and they kind of have to make more strides this year moving forward to just be like a powerhouse in the Big 12. Last year the defense led the conference in sacks. They got in the backfield and disrupted plays. They were like third in QB hurries in the Big 12. I think that everything that they done last year could definitely come over to this year and help them moving forward. Defensively, their secondary was amazing. Pass breakups, they were second in the league in pass breakups, and in tackles, they had a lot of guys that were close to 50 to 60 tackles. So they brought in some tough cornerbacks through the portal. TJ Crandall from Colorado State, sophomore. I think he could have been nice. I think if that was the one I'm thinking about from the Colorado game. I only watched one Colorado State game last year. And Aiden Garris from Duquesne, who Coach Neal feels like he's going to have like one of the best seasons or best years this year. Like, I don't know why, but I don't know if it's propaganda or not, but a lot of the West Virginia people are very high on him. So we will see how he sets himself apart. Other than that, I don't really see much there that could set the defense apart from what it was last year. Like I said, it's an 8-win team last year. I think they can do 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins this year. I think they were kind of shocked that they won 8 games last year. I think that Garrett Green now knows he's one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. So the only strong games that I see, or tough games that I see, is Penn State at home, at Oklahoma State, and at Arizona. Weak games that I see are at Albany, at Cincinnati, Baylor, UCF, at Texas Tech. But the swing games is where I think that they gonna have a edge on the rest of their opponents. So they go to Pitt this year, which is a fucking rivalry game for them every year anyway. So they have Kansas at home, they have Iowa State at home, and they have Kansas State at home. If you can win 3 out of those 4, 2 out of those 4, I think we're looking at a 9-win, 10-win team here out of a 9 or 8-win team here out of fucking West Virginia. Definitely going to be another fun season to watch for them, but this schedule is tough. But I'm going off of the fact of they have been playing good going from last year to now, and just transferring that continuity over to the next year is going to be their biggest thing. But that's all we have today for our Big 12 conference outlook. We have got through every single team. I'm going to try to break up this video for every, exact team, so that everybody can see, you don't have to watch the whole video just to get to your team. But we will be back again tomorrow, probably with some mid-major talent conference shit, or maybe a little later. I might do like Mac later before we do our daily episode for today. So that's all we have today for our conference outlook from downtown. This was the Big 12.